name's Emmy Lotto. I've grown up in Montgomery County and since moved to New York City. I grew up with the sound of the band organ in my ears, but that's not true. I was born in the middle of the night. But my parents took me, even though I lived about an hour up county, my parents took me to Glen Echo fairly often throughout my childhood, and I fell in love with the carousel. And it's become a lifelong thing. I love carousels. I look for them everywhere I go. There's a fair amount here in New York, which is great. But my home carousel has always been Glen Echo. And it's because that's where my horse lives. Now, you can see her in the background. My dad got me this poster when I was about, I want to say 8 years old. And I decided, this is my horse. And her name is Penny. I named her after a tomboy character in a story that I had been reading at the time in Cricket magazine. And I attached to this animal the way that one attaches to a beloved childhood doll or a teddy bear, except mine happens to belong to the National Park Service. The thing about Penny these days is she's my connection to home. She's the one thing that doesn't change. Throughout my childhood, throughout being a teenager, throughout my 20s, moving away, getting married, I've watched Montgomery County change in so many ways. I have watched the places and the people turn into things that I no longer recognize. Family members have passed away. My high school was torn down. All the places I used to play have been changed or destroyed or turned into something else entirely to fit the changing times. But not Penny. Not only is it unchanged, there is a peace on the carousel that I cannot get anywhere else. When I'm sitting on my horse, going around and around, and there's that summer air coming in, and I can see the light hit the trees just the right way. There's the sound of the carousel whirring, of the band organ, that specific smell. It's home. I'm completely 100% at peace here. Everything is all right with the world for just the 2 minutes of the carousel ride.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Charles Polinger. Born in 1944. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I can even remember the address, 1214 19th Street Northeast. And we moved out of that apartment in 1950. So I have no idea why that address sticks in my mind. It's like an old phone number. You never forget them. So we moved to Tacoma Park, Maryland, within the suburbs, to a house that had a lot more room back in 1950. And I guess we started coming to Glen Echo shortly thereafter in the early 1950s. It was a must ride when we got to the park. I mean, like I said, I wasn't going to get on those roller coasters. We called them roller coasters. Nobody ever knew they were roller coasters. So same with the carousel. But it was so exciting because you could hear the music. It was loud and beautiful and exciting. And then there was that ride going around, and as a kid you said, oh man, I'm going to get on something that's moving. So you got in line and you were all excited about what was I going to get on, what animal. And even as a little kid, you wanted to get on one of the ones that went up and down. In the end, I became a mechanical engineer, but at the time, I never knew. I said, I wonder what makes those things go. It's magical because the pipe would go extend into the ceiling and then bounce down below, and the merry-go-round was going around. And then when you were in line, you had a favorite. And most people I knew wanted the horses. Even back in the 50s, those animals of the rides were maintained A1 condition. They were not chipped and banged up and faded. They were always, in my memory, maintained in beautiful condition. Clean, And so you'd get in a line and you'd be waiting. Oh, I gotta get. And the minute they allowed you to go in, you race towards whatever. And then 9 times out of 10 you were disappointed because number one, the horses were going and all the up and down ones were going. So you had to settle for an ostrich or, you know, a tiger. But it was still a lot of fun even with that. I mean, the times that you got on and up and down on were a real treasure. So I remember that very distinctly. It was just a lot of fun, and the rides just all ended too soon. You had to get off and go back in line and wait for another turn. I will say one thing though, before I forget, you know, I found that at that age, the animals, the rides, I guess you call them, were just a little bit frightening. They all had, even the horses had this frightening look about them, and all the animals, the lions and tigers, they were all, you know, so as a little kid, it was a little intimidating, but you know, it gave you that extra thrill.